Yo, what's up guys, you're back with TechNick, and today we have a camera comparison between the Xiaomi Mi 10 Pro, Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra and the iPhone 11 Pro Max. The S20 Ultra comes with a 40 megapixel selfie cam, Mi 10 Pro 20 megapixel and the 11 Pro Max a 12 megapixel selfie cam over there. We have the S20 Ultra with 108 megapixel ISOCELL HM1 sensor with 9:1 pixel binning, a 48 megapixel periscope telephoto lens, 12 megapixel ultra wide and a 3D TOF lens. The Mi 10 Pro comes paired with 108 megapixel ISOCELL HMX sensor with 4:1 pixel binning, 8 megapixel long teller, 12 megapixel short teller and 20 megapixel ultra wide. 11 Pro Max comes with three 12 megapixel cameras for main, telephoto and ultra wide, so it should make for some crispy photos without any pixel binning. Guys, this is TechNick, and without further ado, let's go. We're going to start off here with some binned pics. Keep an eye out on the top left corner for each individual shot. I have listened to you guys because you did indeed tell me in the comment section of my last camera review comparison test that you would like to see full screen images of all three phones, and here it is, full screen just for your guys' eye candy right here. The binned shots is what we've been starting with, and I must say that the colors look the most accurate and the most popping effect with the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra. With ultra wide, things look great as well on all of the cameras, though once again I must say the S20 Ultra has picked up quite a lot more detail. Even with the bin shot over there's a lot more detail on the bricks. Back to ultra wide over here, and you can see there's a lot more color accuracy on the Samsung. Obviously I could see it with my own eyes when taking the pictures and you guys couldn't. We're going to start here with ultra wide. Now we're going to go into the main 108 megapixel shots on the Xiaomi and the Samsung, and then the iPhone is going to stick to its 12 megapixel main sensor, and we've gone to bin shots on the two on the left now. Now it's 2 times optical on all three devices, 5 times optical on the two on the left and 5 times digital for the iPhone, 10 times hybrid for the two on the left, 10 times digital on the iPhone. The iPhone caps out at 10 times, while we can do 30 times on the Xiaomi and the Samsung over here, and we can go into 50 times on the Xiaomi and 100 times on the Samsung, which is absolutely ridiculous, and you can still actually see stuff even though it is a little bit grainy. Back to the main 108 megapixel shot here, we're going to shoot over to the bin shots for the phones on the left hand side, with the iPhone remaining at its 12 megapixel main sensor. Back to 2 times optical zoom for all three devices here on telephoto, and here's 5 times zoom of this fisherman that we can see on the lake over here. I really enjoy watching these guys do their fishing here in China, in Shanghai. They literally do it every day. I cannot get over the fact that they do it, but they make for some really awesome zoomed shots so you can pick up some of the detail. This day was pretty overcast and the pollution wasn't the greatest, so facing the sun over here with an overcast day and pollution makes for some blurry shots over here, so it really tests out the performance of all three cameras. I must say that sometimes the iPhone gets really grainy when zooming in just by 10 times, but honestly it has the most consistent shot. If you want to take a regular snap on the go, the iPhone is more likely to get the shot that you want compared to the others. We have the bin shots here, and we have no macro mode on the Samsung and the iPhone, though we do have a macro mode on the Xiaomi but no dedicated macro sensor. As you can see with the macro mode on the Xiaomi, it looks a hell of a lot better than the other two devices, being the Samsung and the iPhone over there. Now we're going to move into video, and all devices have 1080p at 60 frames per second. That's good to see. Obviously we have Snapdragon 865 processing chips on the two devices on the left, and the iPhone comes paired with an A13 Bionic chip. All are running 7nm plus technology, so all of them should be able to shoot 4K 60 frames per second as they're doing right now. Very nice and smoothly. Very, very good here. I must say the stabilization on the Samsung and the iPhone are slightly better than that on the Xiaomi. Now we do have 8K on the Samsung and Xiaomi as well, though the Xiaomi can do 30 frames per second and the Samsung is capped at 24 frames per second. I'm not quite sure why this is happening, because the Samsung does have a better HM1 sensor as opposed to the HMX bright sensor seen on the Xiaomi. It is a more expensive sensor that Samsung is using, and it is only slightly better, though we are capped at 24 frames per second. With the Samsung we are capped at 30 frames per second in ultra wide, whether we record at 1080p or 4K, and the Xiaomi and iPhone have no problem shooting at 60 frames per second 1080p or 4K ultra wide, so that's really good to see. Now I did run on this bridge over here, no stabilization modes on at the current moment, and you can see how wobbly the Xiaomi is shooting. Now we do have stabilization modes on the two phones on the left, and they are really stable, though the Samsung reverts to ultra wide. The iPhone has no stabilization mode, but it looked pretty clean there if you ask me. Moving on to night mode, you guys can see that there was night off and night on. Back to ultra wide over here. Ultra wide at night is not the best on phones, but we have night mode option on the Samsung, the only one that has night mode option for ultra wide. Now we're moving on to the 108 megapixel stills. These are only really made for outdoor use during the daytime, though they're not doing too much of a bad job at night. I only wanted to show you guys that one there, and I won't show any more 108 megapixel stills at night. Maybe there's one more, but ultra wide at night for the Samsung is a major plus if you ask me, though you do get some grains at the bottom of the photo. Back to the bin shots over here, and then 1x night shot with the bin shots on the phones on the left and the 12 megapixel main still on the iPhone. 2x we have night modes over here on all of them, and I must say the Samsung does seem to hold the light the best. Back to ultra wide here, overlooking the bridge as we saw earlier, and that ultra wide night mode on the Samsung, I cannot get over how awesome that feature is. I wish the other two devices came with it. Back to the 12 megapixel bin shots over here for the Samsung and the Xiaomi. They are doing a really good job at night, I must say, with those 108 megapixel sensors binning down. The Samsung is binned by 9 times, so it's 108 divided by 9, which adds up to a 12 megapixel bin shot, and the Xiaomi is binned by 4 times, so 108 divided by 4 makes for a 27 megapixel bin shot. That means that resolution, guys, 108 megapixels is almost twice 8K. You are not going to be able to see that with any TV currently on the market. It is mainly for cropping into a photo, and I must say that the Samsung does seem to do a better job with pixel binning because, like I said, you don't need that resolution of 108 megapixels, so 12 megapixels is great. With 9 divided binning, it does a brilliant job by combining all the pixels for a better, brighter, bigger individual pixel, as opposed to the Xiaomi's 4 pixels binning into 1. The 9 into 1 seems to do a better job all around. Now, doing some zooms at night, I must say that the Xiaomi and the Samsung do a pretty decent job with brightness. Going into 10 times, you can see that the iPhone is quite grainy over there. As soon as we jump into 30 times, well, we have 10 times at night, which is great to see on all 3 devices. Past that, there is no night mode for either of the devices, though the iPhone is capped at 10 times and the Xiaomi 50 times and the Samsung 100 times. Here is some footage of recording in the evening over here in a very dark situation. 1080p 60 frames per second across the board. The iPhone once again is quite grainy. I think the clearest, or the brightest here is the Xiaomi, the clearest probably being the Samsung. The iPhone has a bit of a warm look to it. Once again, 4K 60 frames per second across the board once again. And the Xiaomi is definitely brighter here. It seems to pick up a lot more light. 8K video on the Xiaomi kills the Samsung when recording at night with those 30 frames per second compared to the 24 frames per second on the Samsung respectively. There are a lot of grains on the Samsung. Shooting 1080p ultra wide, we have 60 frames per second on the Xiaomi and 60 frames per second on the iPhone, though we are limited to 30 frames per second once again on the Samsung when it comes to ultra wide at 4K as well, and the other two can shoot 60 frames per second ultra wide at 4K. Once again, the Xiaomi is pretty bright, but it's gray and blurry, and I think you can pick up the most amount of detail on the Samsung. We have a 40 megapixel selfie cam on the Samsung over here, but once you take 40 megapixel off, it actually gets binned down to 6.5 megapixels. It's quite strange, and the iPhone's actually binned as well unless you do ultra wide. We're going to shoot over to some video very soon, guys, and I'm really excited to get your opinion on what you think is the best mic quality on all 3 devices as well as video quality. So we're going to jump into that right now. Enjoy the clips. Yo, what's up guys, this is TechNick recording a 1080p 30 frames per second video using the selfie camera on the Xiaomi Mi 10 Pro. It is limited and completely capped at 1080p and capped at 30 frames per second. Let me know what you guys think of the audio and the video quality for the Mi 10 Pro. What's up guys, this is TechNick recording a 4K 60 frames per second front-facing camera video on the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra. Let me know what you guys think of the audio quality as well as the video quality. Yo, what's up guys, this is TechNick recording a front-facing selfie camera video on the iPhone 11 Pro Max. It has a limited frame rate of 60 frames per second and resolution of 4K. Let me know what you guys think of the video and audio quality of the 11 Pro Max. And taking some selfies at night, you can see that the Xiaomi is definitely brighter and picks up the most amount of detail, though we do have night mode for the Samsung where the other two devices lack that. You can see how terrible the Samsung is on standard pic, but as soon as we use night mode, it is a lot brighter, though I still think there is more detail on the Xiaomi. Video recording selfies at night, we have 4K 60 frames per second on the two devices on the right. The Xiaomi is limited selfie recording 1080p at 30 frames per second, which kind of sucks. And honestly, that is a wrap for the video and picture comparison between these three devices. I must say I'm really impressed with the S20 Ultra and the iPhone. The Xiaomi is very much on par with the other two devices with some lacking features there. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I did making it, and until next time guys, this is TechNick.